Avery Quinn sat alone in the simulator hangar, hands steady on the throttle, flying a jet she'd never touch in real life. Outside, they called her support staff. Inside, she flew better than any of them ever would. The hangar lights buzzed overhead, dull and flickering. Avery Quinn slid into the simulator cockpit, the seat creaking under her flight suit. No one else was there, just her, the machine, and the silence. She pulled the canopy down. The hum of the console kicked in, lighting up in cool blue and green. Her fingers moved quickly, flipping switches, checking systems. Every step came easy. Muscle memory. Command check, she said into the mic, even though she knew it wasn't connected to anything. Vortex 9, systems green. Requesting takeoff clearance. She gave herself permission. Cleared for takeoff, Vortex. Good luck out there. The engines roared to life through the surround sound, simulating real pressure. The screen lit up, a desert runway stretched before her. She eased the throttle forward. The jet accelerated smoothly. As she lifted off, the vibration in the seat made her grip the controls tighter. It wasn't real, but it felt close enough. She banked hard to the left, leveled, climbed. The desert gave way to clouds. Climb steady, she whispered. Altitude, 12,000. Good. She flew like she'd done it 100 times. Because she had. At night. On weekends. In this forgotten simulator no one used anymore. Everyone else flew live drills in the airfield. She was support staff. Ground crew. Nobody. She dove into a loop, the jet responding fast and smooth. Her heart beat once, hard, then settled. No fear. No doubt. Just focus. Executing high G turn. Let's see if you can keep up today, she muttered, almost to the machine. The sim flickered slightly, just like the real jet always did at that speed. Avery adjusted, split-second reflex, nudging the left rudder just enough. The flight path corrected itself. Clean. She smiled, just barely. Behind her, the door creaked open. Avery paused, hands hovering above the controls. The canopy was still down, so she didn't turn. But she knew the footsteps. Heavy. Confident. Quinn, came the voice. Lieutenant Colonel Maddox. She didn't answer. You joyriding in here again? He asked, laughing. You know this rig's obsolete. Avery clicked the sim to pause, popped the canopy, and looked over her shoulder. Still works better than half the junk on the field. Maddox smirked. Cute. But you don't get better at flying by pretending. You either fly the bird or you don't. I fly, she said. Not according to your file. He walked off without waiting for a reply. The door slammed shut. Avery sat still for a moment, her hands tight around the controls. Then, slowly, she restarted the sim. Let's try that turn again, she whispered. The engines roared. The jet climbed. She flew. The smell of burnt coffee filled the operations room. Avery leaned over a table, sorting out toolkits and spare headset parts. Just another quiet morning. Just another day being invisible. Across the room, two junior techs huddled around a screen, whispering too loud to ignore. Final tests back on, one said. No way. After 3 crashes? Top brass signed off. Vortex 9's going up again. Avery froze. She straightened slowly, listening without looking. The name echoed in her chest like a thud. Vortex 9. They were bringing it back. The techs didn't notice her watching. One tapped the screen. Pilot shortlist just came in. Maddox is at the top. Of course he is. They laughed. The words stuck in Avery's head like gum under a boot. Maddox. Vortex 9. Again. She wiped her hands on a rag, dropped it on the table, and walked out. Avery moved fast down the hallway toward the back office server room. The door was open. Inside, a few flight logs were still cycling through the terminal. She stepped in, shut the door behind her, and sat at the console. She typed quickly. Search, Vortex 9 pilot selection. Access denied. She tried again, this time routing through the maintenance scheduling server. A backdoor she'd found months ago. Access granted. Avery leaned forward as the names loaded. Test pilot roster, Vortex 9 final flight. Lieutenant Colonel B. Maddox. Major R. Delaney, Alt. Captain A. Quinn, support crew, not cleared. Her name. Right there. Not even in consideration. She stared at it. Then scrolled down to the incident reports. 3 fatal crashes. Each one listed as pilot error. But she knew the truth. Or at least, she doubted the official version. One name caught her eye again. Captain Eli Quinn. Her brother. She clicked open the last report. Flight footage. Telemetry data. His vitals spiking seconds before the crash. His voice in the comm logs, calm, focused, not panicked. Then a final line from command, abort. Eject now. His reply, negative. Still stable. And then, static. Avery pushed back from the console, blinking fast. The room felt smaller now. The door opened. Sarah Lynn stood there, arms crossed. You're not supposed to be in here. Avery didn't look guilty. Just tired. They're giving the jet to Maddox, she said. Sarah nodded slowly. Of course they are. It's not pilot error. Not with Eli. He didn't make a mistake. I know, Sarah said, softer this time. Avery turned the screen back toward the engineer. Then help me prove it. Sarah studied her for a long moment. No smile. No argument. She just nodded once. All right, she said. Let's wake the damn thing up. Avery stood in front of General Rourke's office, clutching the sealed envelope in both hands. Inside were her hours, her simulator scores, her request to be considered as a test pilot for Vortex 9. She knocked once. Enter. The general barely looked up when she stepped in. He was sorting files, tired-looking, his desk buried in paper and coffee cups. Captain Quinn, he said flatly. I'd like to be considered for the Vortex 9 final test. She stepped forward and placed the envelope on his desk. He didn't touch it. Just stared at her for a moment. You're not cleared for high-risk prototype flight. I've logged more sim hours on the Vortex systems than anyone on base. I know its behaviors, its limits. That's not the same as flying it, Rourke cut in. You've been support crew, not active flight since, he hesitated, just for a beat. Since your brother's crash. Avery kept her jaw tight. I'm ready now. He looked at her like she was a child asking to drive a tank. Captain, he said, calmer now. You're smart. Reliable. But this test isn't for someone looking to settle personal scores. We need controlled, experienced leadership. We're sending Maddox. So that's it? That's it. Avery stood still. She waited for something, anything, to change in his face. But nothing did. She left the envelope on the desk. He didn't pick it up. Back in the barracks, Avery sat on her bunk, boots still on. The sounds of jets outside came in through the window, sharp, distant, constant. She stared at the floor. Maybe he was right. She wasn't like Maddox. Or her brother. Or anyone in the air. She was the girl who ran systems checks and adjusted seat straps. The one who flew invisible loops in old simulators. Maybe that was all she'd ever be. Her eyes drifted to her locker. She got up, opened it, and pulled out a small, battered flash drive, her brother's. She'd kept it all this time. Never opened it. Never wanted to. She plugged it into her tablet. Flight logs loaded. His last few test runs were there, dozens of them. But as she scanned through the data, something stood out. Spikes in system pressure. AI instability readings. Not just on the final flight, but in tests before that too. She tapped through quickly. He'd flagged the issues himself. Notes in the margins. System drift at 22,000 feet feels like it's pushing back. Not random. The jet is reacting. Avery blinked. He'd known. He'd felt it too. She pulled up her own sim logs. The same patterns. Slight shifts in pitch when none were commanded. The AI didn't just follow, it responded. Like it was learning. Or resisting. She sat back, her heart racing now. Her brother didn't crash because he panicked. He saw something no one else did. Just like she had. She stood up. No more waiting. If no one else would see it, she'd show them. The old flight lab sat behind a mechanic's bay, forgotten and dusty. One of the screens still flickered when Sarah Lynn powered it on, though the rest needed a hard reboot. You know this could get us both reassigned, Sarah said, hands on her hips. Avery stood by the simulator shell, checking the cable links. Only if someone finds out. Sarah rolled her eyes. They always find out. But I have to try. You saw the logs. Eli didn't fail. The jet did. Sarah let out a long breath and walked over. She plugged in the backup AI drive she'd smuggled out months ago. The one the others had scrapped after the third crash. This is Vortex's old learning core. Version 3.4. They never figured out how it kept going off pattern. Let's find out, Avery said. For the next 2 nights, they trained in secret. Avery ran flight tests in the stripped-down simulator while Sarah adjusted the code in real time. The system wasn't stable, glitches sparked across the HUD, and the controls lagged, but Avery kept flying. The jet responded strangely. One moment it followed her exactly. The next, it shifted slightly, just off enough to make her grip the stick tighter. At first she thought it was broken. But it wasn't. It was reacting. Try flying by instinct, Sarah said, watching the data scroll past. Stop following the checklist. Avery hesitated, then closed her eyes for a second. She took a breath. Then she banked hard left, climbed steeply, and rolled over the top. The AI lagged, then corrected. Another breath. She twisted right, lower this time. She didn't think. Just moved. The system flowed better. It's adapting, Sarah murmured. It doesn't like patterns. So fly outside the pattern. Avery flew an unlogged maneuver, a figure-8 loop inside a spiral dive. It was impossible by the book. But the jet stayed with her. When she landed, the cockpit shook from the sim's engines cooling down. She pulled the headset off and wiped sweat from her face. You saw that, right? She asked. Sarah was already scrolling back through the code. It wants variation. Chaos, almost. But not random. It's reading something deeper. Reflexes? Closer to intuition. Or maybe subconscious muscle memory. It's like, it needs a pilot who doesn't overthink. Avery laughed once, quietly. Finally. Something I'm good at. Sarah looked up. You think that's funny? No, Avery said, picking up her helmet again. I think it means I'm not crazy. They ran the test again. This time, Avery flew without speaking. Her movements flowed smoother. Her hands never stopped. The jet felt less like a machine and more like something alive. When the sim ended, both women stared at the final score. It was higher than any pilot had ever recorded, Maddox included. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Well, she said, you just broke the impossible. Avery didn't smile. Good, she said. Because I'm not done yet. The days blurred into each other. Early mornings. Late nights. No questions. No distractions. Avery and Sarah kept flying. Each test was different, never the same loop, never the same turn twice. Avery learned to trust her instincts more than the readouts. The AI stopped fighting her. It flowed like water around her choices. Not perfect, but close. Closer than anyone had come before. Sarah kept the logs buried under false names and scrambled call signs. Just in case. We need to keep you invisible, she said, hands tapping fast at the keyboard. If they know it's you, they'll shut it down. Let them try, Avery muttered, pulling on her gloves. Meanwhile, across the base, Maddox made sure everyone knew his name. Every time he trained, he did it loud. He strutted across the tarmac like it was a stage. Reporters showed up. PR teams followed. People clapped when he landed, even if the landing wasn't great. You're looking at the man who's gonna tame Vortex 9, he told a local reporter one afternoon, flashing that perfect smile. This jet needs discipline. Command. Not guesswork. Avery watched the clip on her tablet, sitting alone on the edge of the mechanic bay. She shut it off before it ended. One evening, the second simulator was left online. The main pilots were done for the day. No cameras. No noise. This is your chance, Sarah said. Go in under a dead call sign. Echo 7 is still in the system. One run. Avery nodded. She climbed in without a word. Her helmet clicked into place. Hands steady. Breath slow. The simulation loaded. New terrain. Wind gusts high. Stress test. She flew differently this time, sharp, fast, confident. Loops inside dives. Rollouts into stall recoveries. She didn't follow flight school rules. She made her own. And the AI followed. When the test ended, the screen blinked. Time, 2 minutes and 47.9 seconds, new record. Call sign, Echo 7. She climbed out without a smile. Just calm. You did it, Sarah said quietly. That's faster than Maddox's best by 10 seconds. No one will care. I care, Sarah said. And so will command. Avery raised an eyebrow. Sarah didn't explain. She just saved the log and walked out. The next day, a list went up outside the operations room. Vortex 9 final shortlist. Lieutenant Colonel Maddox. Major Delaney. Captain Avery Quinn. Avery stood in front of it, blinking. Someone beside her whistled. Didn't know support crew could fly. She said nothing. Just walked away. Inside the hangar, Maddox stormed toward Rourke's office, red-faced. What the hell is she doing on that list? He snapped. She earned her place, the general said without looking up. No one even saw her fly. Someone did, Rourke replied, voice dry. And the jet noticed too. That night, Avery sat beside the simulator in the dark. Helmet in her lap. Engine cooling behind her. Sarah passed her a coffee. Still want to be invisible? Avery stared ahead. No, she said. I want to fly it for real. The hangar buzzed with noise, mechanics shouting, reporters crowding the fence line, and techs rushing between trucks. Avery stood behind the line, helmet in hand, watching the crew wheel out Vortex 9. It gleamed under the morning sun, deadly and perfect. Then came the announcement over the loudspeaker. Lieutenant Colonel Maddox is grounded due to medical clearance. Backup pilot to report immediately. A pause. Then, Captain Avery Quinn. You're up. She blinked. Sarah turned to her. You heard that right. I'm not ready. No one is, Sarah said. But you've already flown this thing more than anyone else. Just not out there. Avery's breath caught in her throat. In front of the media? The brass? The families of the other pilots? She nodded once, quietly. Okay. Inside the cockpit, everything felt sharper. Realer. The pressure in the air, the tightness of the straps, the hum of the engine under her boots. Vortex 9, she said into the comms. Call sign, Ghost. Requesting permission to launch. Cleared for takeoff, Ghost. Let's see what you've got. The jet roared down the runway. Faster than the sim. More vibration. Every bump hit her spine. But her hands were steady. She lifted off clean. For the first few minutes, everything went by the book. Smooth climb. Minor course adjustment. Camera drones followed her from below, broadcasting every move. Then the shudder began. The jet tilted left on its own. Not much, just a few degrees. But enough. The same signature from her brother's crash logs. Ghost, your yaw's drifting. Correct immediately. I see it, Avery said, quiet. Warnings flashed on her console. System instability detected. The jet shook again. Ground control shouted, Ghost, abort and return to base. Repeat, abort. But Avery didn't answer. She closed her eyes for 1 second. 1 breath. Then opened them. Forget the checklist. She eased off the stick. Loosened her grip. Let the machine move. The jet drifted again, right this time. She didn't fight it. She flowed with it. Rolled slightly, climbed, then dipped the nose just enough to reset the balance. The shudder stopped. Her hands danced over the controls, fast, light, unplanned. Then she pulled into a full loop. A clean, perfect arc against the sky. The crowd below gasped. Sarah, watching from the control tower, grinned wide. She's doing it. The jet steadied. Ghost, the comm officer said slowly, you are stable. Continue as planned. Avery let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. She landed 20 minutes later. Not a scratch. Ground crew swarmed the jet. Cameras flashed. When she climbed out, helmet under her arm, no one spoke for a moment. Then someone clapped. And another. Soon, the hangar echoed with it. Avery didn't smile. She just looked toward the tower. Sarah gave her a small nod. Victory. But as Avery walked off the runway, she passed a line of brass officers whispering. General Rourke frowned, deep in thought. One muttered, she made it work, but that wasn't protocol. Victory, yes. But not everyone was happy about it. The hangar was silent the next morning. Avery sat alone on a metal bench, still in her flight suit, helmet by her side. No reporters now. No applause. Just the cold hum of overhead lights. The door slammed open. Quinn, barked General Rourke. She stood up fast. Follow me. He led her into a briefing room. Inside, Maddox was already there, arms crossed, lip curled like he'd been waiting to pounce. Avery stayed quiet. Rourke threw a folder on the table. You disobeyed a direct order. I stabilized the aircraft, Avery said, steady. I saved it. You flew off script, Maddox snapped. That's not control. That's luck. Avery turned toward him. You weren't in the cockpit. You didn't feel what it was doing. You nearly tanked the program in front of every drone and camera we had in the air. Rourke raised a hand. You made us look unprepared, he said. Reckless. The footage is being reviewed by the board. You're covering it up, Avery said. You're hiding that the AI is unstable. No, Rourke said. We're protecting national security. And you're grounded, effective immediately. Avery stared at him. I completed the flight. You got lucky. And if I hadn't gone off script, she asked. You'd be pulling another pilot's body out of a crater right now. Maddox pushed off the wall. You think you're special because you closed your eyes and guessed your way through? We need discipline. Not guesswork. She clenched her fists. It wasn't guesswork. It was instinct. The AI responds to nonlinear thinking, Sarah and I prove that. Rourke's expression darkened. Dr. Lin acted without clearance. She's been reprimanded and removed from active systems development. Avery's chest tightened. You punished her? She jeopardized years of work by encouraging your stunt. She gave me a chance, Avery said. And it worked. No, Rourke said. It didn't work. Not the way we needed it to. Silence. He looked at her once more, then opened the door. You're dismissed. Back in the barracks, Avery sat on the floor by her bunk. Her locker was open. Inside, her brother's flight patch, the flash drive, and her unused gear. Her hands rested on her knees. Quiet. Still. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. The door creaked open. Sarah slipped in, jacket slung over her shoulder. I'm off the project, she said. They gave me a lab in Arizona. Somewhere quiet. They shut you down because of me. Sarah sat beside her. No. They shut me down because I saw what they didn't want to admit. That the jet thinks in a way they don't understand. Avery didn't answer. Sarah looked at her. You gonna quit? Avery shrugged. They don't want me. They never did. Sarah stood. That's not the question. The question is, do you still want it? Avery said nothing. But her eyes drifted back to the flash drive, her brother's data, still glowing faintly in the dark. The crash site was 2 miles past the edge of base, in a dry clearing behind a chain-link fence. No signs marked it. Just scorched earth, broken trees, and silence. Avery climbed over the fence alone, boots crunching on dry dirt. Wind moved gently through the grass. She walked to the center. The soil was still stained black. A twisted piece of metal stuck out from the ground, half buried, weathered by time. She knelt beside it. Hey, Eli, she said softly. It's been a while. She sat there a while, not speaking. Just listening to the wind in her own breath. She pulled the flash drive from her jacket. The one with his logs. Opened the last video. His voice played, shaky from inside the cockpit. Testing new response inputs. Jet is pulling, manually correcting. It's learning, adjusting, no, wait. Static. Then silence. Avery closed her eyes. He hadn't failed. He had figured it out, but the AI hadn't been ready. It didn't trust him yet. It fought him. She opened her eyes again. Looked at the scarred dirt around her. You saw it before anyone else, she whispered. You tried to show them. She stood up slowly. They didn't listen then. They're still not listening now. A plane flew overhead, distant, steady, unaware of the place below. Avery looked up, watching its trail. They're afraid of the unknown, she said. But you weren't. And neither am I. She turned to leave, boots brushing through the grass. Her walk got faster. Stronger. She climbed the fence again, this time without hesitation. She wasn't waiting for permission anymore. Back at the barracks, she opened her locker and pulled out her gear. Helmet. Suit. Boots. She grabbed her brother's patch and tucked it into her flight vest. Then she called Sarah. You still have access to the test hangar? A pause. Depends. Why? Because I'm done asking. Late that night, the hangar was dark and mostly empty. Sarah met her by the back entrance, keycard ready. You sure about this? Sarah asked. I wasn't, Avery said. But I am now. Sarah looked her over. If they catch you. They won't, Avery said. Not until I'm already in the sky. Sarah gave her a small smile. That's very Eli of you. They moved fast, quiet, focused. Within minutes, Vortex 9 was powered up, systems humming, lights glowing under its wings. Avery climbed into the cockpit like it was second nature. This time, she didn't feel fear. She felt ready. As the canopy closed, Sarah's voice came through her headset. "Good luck, Ghost." Avery gripped the controls. "No," she said. "This time, it's not luck." She hit the ignition. The jet roared to life. The base was packed. Reporters lined the fences. Officers stood at attention. The screens buzzed with live feeds. Lieutenant Colonel Maddox climbed into Vortex 9 like it was his throne. "Let's make history," he said to the cameras, grinning. Up in the control tower, Sarah watched with her arms folded. Avery stood beside her in uniform, but hidden, her hair tucked under her cap, helmet under one arm. "You ready?" Sarah asked quietly. Avery didn't answer. She just nodded once. 10 minutes into the flight, the jet began to shake. "Hard." "Control, I'm getting feedback in the rudder system," Maddox said, voice tense. "Copy that, Vortex 9. Adjust pitch and descend 1,000 feet. "I'm trying, controls are stiff." The jet dipped sharply. "Vortex 9, abort mission. Return to base." "I can't, she's not responding." On the ground, everyone froze. General Rourke's face drained of color. "It's happening again," someone whispered. Inside Hangar 2, the backup jet sat fueled and silent. Until its engines suddenly came to life. The blast of wind shook the walls as Avery launched down the runway, climbing hard into the sky. "Unscheduled takeoff," a tech yelled. "Unknown pilot." In the tower, Rourke shouted, "Who authorized this?" Sarah just stared at the screen. She did. Avery rose fast, slicing through the clouds, the sun behind her. The air was thinner here. Colder. But her hands were steady. "Ghost to Vortex 9. I'm on your 6. Maddox's voice crackled. "Quinn? What the hell are you doing?" "Saving your ass." Below them, the base watched both jets circling on the live feed. Maddox's jet tilted dangerously. "She's not leveling out, systems are red across the board." "Stop fighting it," Avery said. "Let the jet move. You're out of line." "I'm alive," she said, voice calm. "You will be too. Just copy me." She banked left, rolled softly, and rose into an arc. Her jet followed her hands like a dance. Maddox tried it. The AI jolted, but adjusted. He grunted. I think it's working." "You're not the pilot," Avery said. "You're the partner. Let the system lead sometimes." Both jets spun wide, then looped together, flawless, twin spirals cutting across the sky. In the tower, Rourke leaned forward. "My God, she's controlling both." Sarah smiled. "She's not controlling. She's listening." 10 minutes later, 2 jets came in low over the runway. 1. 2. They touched down smooth. No smoke. No alarms. The crowd stood in silence. Then, wild cheers. Mechanics rushed forward. Rourke stepped down onto the tarmac, stunned. Maddox climbed out, helmet off, chest heaving. He looked at Avery, stepping down from the second jet. They locked eyes. He didn't say anything. But he nodded once. Avery didn't smile. She just looked to the sky. For her brother. For the truth. For herself. And she had done it. 2 weeks later, the base looked different. The fences were still there. The plane still roared down the runways. But something had shifted. Inside the command hall, a crowd gathered. Journalists, brass, engineers. Cameras flashed as General Rourke stepped up to the podium. "Today," he said, "we recognize not just a successful test flight, but the beginning of a new chapter in aerial systems. Thanks to one pilot's courage, we now understand that our machines are only as strong as the minds that fly them." He turned. Avery Quinn. Avery stepped up. Uniform sharp. Helmet under her arm. No longer a ghost. People clapped. Flashes lit the room. Behind her, Dr. Sarah Lynn stood smiling, now wearing her official badge again, Chief Systems Architect. Her eyes were calm but proud. Later, outside the hangar, Maddox waited by a flight case. No cameras this time. Just sun and wind. Avery approached. He didn't smirk. He didn't joke. He just looked her in the eye. "You saved my life," he said. "I saved the jet," she replied. He gave a short laugh. "That too." A pause. "You were right," he said. "About how it works. About how we fly." Avery nodded. "Took me long enough to say it out loud." He extended a hand. She shook it. That afternoon, a new test flight was scheduled, this time fully cleared. Official. Watched by command and media alike. Avery climbed into the cockpit. Vortex 9 waited on the runway, gleaming in the sun. She ran her hand along the edge of the console, then slipped her brother's flight patch onto the dash. "Ready when you are, Ghost," Sarah said in her ear. "Let's fly," Avery answered. As the jet rose from the ground, wind screaming past the wings, the entire base watched. She didn't fly low this time. Or careful. She climbed fast. Rolled hard. Danced through the sky in loops and sweeps that no one could script. Inside the tower, an aide turned to Rourke. "You want me to pull her back into standard formation?" Rourke shook his head. "Let her go." Up in the sky, Avery leaned into the controls, but lightly. She let the system breathe with her. Respond. Trust. She was no longer flying to prove something. She was just flying. And this time, everyone saw it. Avery in the cockpit, wind in her suit, sky wide around her, no longer hidden in a backroom simulator. Not a ghost. A pilot. The first of her kind. If you like the story, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who'd enjoy it too. Thanks for watching, more stories coming soon.